Well, good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all this morning. Today we are observing our Nirvana Day service. Nirvana Day is a day which actually is observed on February 15th, is the day that the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni, passed away from his earthly life. And so with this, we will have our Dharma messages for the Dharma school from Sharon, Sasaki, and from Laverne Sensei for today's Dharma messages. We will begin this morning's service with Reverend Laverne leading us in the chanting of the Sambujo, which can be found on page 21 of the service book, and then followed by the Hyo Byakumon, or the intention of the service, and then sutra chanting of the Sambutsuge on page 43.
In the presence of Amida Buddha, which we experience as wisdom and compassion, light and life, we're gathered today to observe Nehan, or Nirvana Day, which marks the crossing over of Shakyamuni Buddha from this world of samsara or suffering into parinirvana, or nirvana after death. It's a time to hear, once again, and be reminded of the guiding principles of living a life free from suffering, and which Shakyamuni Buddha shared before his death. It is said that his final teachings included the following guiding principles. From this day on, rely on the Dharma, not on people who teach it. Rely on the meaning, not the words. Rely on wisdom, not on the working of the mind. Rely on the sutras that fully express the meaning, not on those that do not. Namo Amida, Namo Kie Butsu, Namo Kie Ho, Namo Kie So. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Hearing the name and desiring to be born in the Pure Land, all of us can attain birth and attain the rank of the truly settled. Please join me in Nembutsu Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Please turn to page 43 in your service books and join us in the chanting of Sambutsuge. Shuko enyo kaishin ompe yunyaku jumoku nyorai yogen chose murin shogaku daion koru jippo kaimon shojin sammai chie itoku muryo Shusho keu jintai zennen shobutsu mokai gujin jin no kugo gaitai mumyo yokunu seson yomu nin no shishi jin toku muryo kukun kodai Chi e jimyo komyo iso shindo daisen ganga sabuten zai shou kado shoji mihu gedan fuse joi kainin shojin nyoze samai Chi e ijo go se tokubuten fugyo shigan isai kuku isa dai an keshi ubuten hyakusen nokuman myunyo dai sho shunyo goja kuyo isai Shito shobuten hunyo gudo kensho fugyaku hinyo goja shobuten sekai buhu kage mushu sendo komyo shiso henshi shokoku nyoze shojin Ijin nanryo ga sambuten koku dai ichi goshu kimyo dojo cho Koku nyo nai on, Nimu toso gato ai ni, Dodan isai, Jiporai sho, Shinen shoujo, Ito ga koku keraku an on, Kobun shimyo, ga shinsho, Hongan no hi, Riki shou shou yoku jipo seson, Chi e mugen, Joryo shison, Chi ga shingyo, Keryo shinshi, Shoku doku chu, Ga gyo shojin, Ninju huken. Namandabu, 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 Namandabu. Ganni shiku doku, Myodo seisai, Dohonbo daishin, Hojo Rako. Namamidabits, Namandabits, 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 Namandabits.
Will everyone please rise for the recitation of the three treasures? And that can be found on page 91 of the service book. Three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from the suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken ourselves our supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony in the spirit of usual brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Gasho, Namo Amidaps, Namo Amidaps, Namo Amidaps, Namo Amidaps, Namo Amidaps, Namo Amidaps. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to call upon our certified minister's assistant, Sharon Sasaki, who will provide the message, today's Nirvana Day message to the Dharma School.
Please join me in Dakasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabs. Namandabs. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today for our special Nirvana Day service. And in observance of Nirvana Day, which is the day that the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, passed away, I wanted to share the story of Shakyamuni Buddha's life, and it's there with help of our Dharma friend, Mr. Ralph, who's going to show the pictures, the paintings that were actually done by my mother's cousin in Aichi-ken, Japan, years ago. He's an artist, and my parents were there visiting, and they saw these paintings and admired them. And then maybe a few weeks later, they got shipped to them these these paintings. And so I thought it'd be a nice time to share them with you for Nirvana Day. And the story is Shakyamuni Buddha. And some of you may be able to read the Nihongo, the Japanese. But it's from Nippon Dowa Meisaku Sen, which is Selected Children's Stories by Yoshiaki Kato. And the poster drawings are by Hiroaki Noguchi, and that's my mother's cousin in Aichi-ken. So I think you can see the slides there? Yeah. Okay. So what's the point of living the way I do day in and day out? 2,500 years ago, in his youth, Shakyamuni Buddha had the same nagging questions that we do today. He never avoided them or gave up the search for answers, but devoted himself earnestly to discovering the meaning of life. That search is the starting point of Buddhism. Precisely because he agonized more than others, Buddha also attained a happiness greater than that of anyone else. In our desire to live with strength and cheerfulness, the life of Buddha provides invaluable insight. Next. Prince Siddhartha was born on April 8th, approximately 2,500 years ago, in Lumbini Garden, present-day Nepal. Legend says he walked 7 steps and exclaimed, "In all of the universe, I alone am the most honored one." He was later revered as Buddha, the enlightened one. Next slide. The prince was named Siddhartha by a religious person, signifying that every wish will be fulfilled with his birth. He will become a great ruler or a great spiritual person, according to a prophet. However, his father, the king, became worried that he may not become a successor to his throne. His father said, "I would prefer him to become a king instead of a spiritual leader." His mother died 7 days after Siddhartha's birth. Next. One day, when the athletic Prince Siddhartha was 7 years old, he was in a field when he saw an insect crawling on the ground. Suddenly, a bird came swooping down and grabbed the insect to eat it. Then a hunter shot the bird. After seeing this event, the prince sadly asked, "Why do living beings kill each other?" He was a deeply thinking and feeling person and troubled by this. Next. Like many of us, Siddhartha was blessed with great material comfort. In fact, as prince of a tiny kingdom, Siddhartha could have lived a life of untroubled luxury. To keep his son from witnessing the miseries and suffering of the world, Siddhartha's father raised him in opulence, in a palace built just for the boy, and sheltered him from knowledge of religion and human hardship. Next. Devadatta was a son of King Amritodana and Siddhartha's cousin. As a youth, Devadatta was endowed with physical and mental prowess and with talents second only to those of Prince Siddhartha. In many ways, the two were rivals, but Devadatta could never best the prince. This painting depicts Prince Siddhartha beating arrogant Devadatta at wrestling. Next. Prince Siddhartha leaves the castle and sees for the first time an old person, a sick person, and a funeral procession, and finally, a peaceful priest. He wondered, why is there so much suffering? Why is the priest so peaceful? How can we not suffer? Next. Prince Siddhartha reflects on life, his life in the castle, and the sights he had seen. He has a strong desire to understand how to unlock the key to happiness. Next. The prince leaves the luxurious life of the castle and began his search for happiness by becoming a spiritual person. He recognized that his existence was spiritually empty. He wanted more than to be distracted from the problems of suffering and death. He wanted to find an answer. At the age of 29, Siddhartha renounced his kingdom to devote himself entirely to a search for the truth. It must have been a painful decision because he also had to leave his wife and his family. Next. An ascetic is a person who practices severe self-discipline and denies him or herself material possessions and normal pleasures of life. For the next 6 years, Siddhartha lived an ascetic life, studying and meditating, using the words of various religious teachers as his guide. He practiced his new way of life with a group of 5 ascetics, and his dedication to his quest was so stunning that the 5 ascetics became Siddhartha's followers. When answers to his questions did not appear, however, he redoubled his efforts, enduring pain, fasting nearly to starvation, and refusing water. Next. Whatever he tried, Siddhartha, spiritually and physically exhausted, could not reach the level of satisfaction he sought, until one day when a young girl, Sujata, offered him a bowl of rice. As he accepted it, he suddenly realized that rejecting food and water was not the means to achieve inner liberation, and that living under harsh physical constraints was not helping him achieve spiritual release. So he had his rice, drank water, and bathed in the river. The 5 ascetics decided that Siddhartha had given up the ascetic life and would now follow the ways of the flesh, and they promptly left him. From then on, however, Siddhartha encouraged people to follow a path of balance instead of one characterized by extremism. He called this path the middle way. Next. That night, Siddhartha sat under the Bodhi tree, vowing to not get up until the truths he sought came to him, and he meditated until the sun came up the next day. He remained there for several days, purifying his mind, seeing his entire life and previous lives in his thoughts. During this time, he had to overcome the threats of Mara, an evil demon which represents human wants and desires, who tried to tempt him to quit meditation. Next. Attaining even deeper concentration, Siddhartha was able to banish Mara, and a picture began to form in his mind of all that occurred in the universe. And Siddhartha finally saw the answer to the questions of suffering that he had been seeking for so many years. On December 8th, at age 35, in that moment of pure enlightenment, Siddhartha Gautama became the Buddha, he who is awake. Next. Looking at life with his enlightened mind, Shakyamuni Buddha now overflowed with inner strength and confidence. Next. At first, the Buddha was hesitant to teach because what he now knew could not be communicated to others in words. About 100 miles away from the Bodhi tree, he came across the 5 ascetics he had practiced with for so long, who had abandoned him on the eve of his enlightenment. Seeing that he was awakened, they convinced him to share his teachings. To them and others who had gathered, he preached his first sermon, in which he explained the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, which became the pillars of Buddhism. The ascetics then became his first disciples and formed the foundation of the Sangha, or community of monks. Women were admitted to the Sangha, and all barriers of class, race, sex, and previous background were ignored. The only consideration was the desire to reach enlightenment through the banishment of suffering and spiritual emptiness. Next. For the rest of his life, 45 years, Buddha crossed and recrossed central India on foot, conveying his profound, brilliant wakefulness in an effort to lead others to and along the path of enlightenment. On Nirvana Day, which we are observing today, Buddha passed away, entering into Nirvana, great complete enlightenment. His disciples, both human and animals, wept. When he died, it is said that he told his disciples that they should follow no leader. Here are his words to his grieving disciples. My disciples, my last moment has come, but do not forget that death is only the end of the physical body. The body was born from parents and was nourished by food, just as inevitable are sickness and death. But the true Buddha is not a human body. It is enlightenment. A human body must die, but the wisdom of enlightenment will exist forever in the truth of Dharma and in the practice of the Dharma. He who sees merely my body does not truly see me. Only he who accepts my teaching truly sees me. After my death, the Dharma shall be your teacher. Follow the Dharma, and you will be true to me. My dear disciple, this is the end. In a moment, I shall be passing into Nirvana. This is my instruction. Next. Buddha's enlightenment and the Dharma, his teachings, have been passed down through numerous unbroken lineages of teachers and spread to many countries, first within Asia and now to the United States, San Diego, and throughout the world. Thank you very much. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Dabs. Namo Dabs. Thank you, Ralph.
Sharon, thank you very much for sharing that wonderful message on Nirvana Day, the history, and especially the paintings from your mother's cousin. That's really wonderful. Next, we will sing the Gatha, Praise to Buddha, and that can be found on page 130 of the service book. So everyone please stand. For the reading of the Ryogemon, the Jodo Shinshu Creed. If you have the program, we will recite the what is in the program. Okay, so Namo Amida Butsu. Entrust yourself to me. I will liberate you just as you are. This is the calling and voice of Amitabha. My blind passions are embraced in the Buddha's awakening. So the Buddha calls to me. I will liberate you just as you are, gratefully responding to the Buddha's call. I find that I am already a path that leads to the Pure Land, and an emerald who flows freely from my thankful heart. It is due to the guidance of Shinran Shonin and successive spiritual leaders who have transmitted the teachings to us today. Living with the Dharma as my guide softens my rigid heart and mind. Gratitude for the gift of life I have received frees me from becoming lost in greed and anger, and allows me to share the warm smile and speak gentle words. Sharing the joy and sadness of others, I shall strive to live to its fullest. Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. You may be seated. Before we have our installation of the Board of Directors for 2024, I'd like to have Luann come up for a few words.
Good morning. As many of you know, we have elected a new president. Yay! I want to thank Kurt Yasuhara for accepting the position. I'll introduce him in a couple of minutes to install the 2024 BOD for the Board of Directors. But I would like to take this opportunity to thank our ministerial advisors, Reverend Gibbs, Reverend Imori, and Reverend Smitty, and to all the MAs for their guidance and support. Thank you to the best board ever. You guys are great. For my 8 years and beyond, they have been lifting me up with their constant support. Sorry. And together, with you, the song of the temple is thriving. We have just begun to make BTSD the place to be. I wasn't going to do this, sorry. Thank you. It's been my honor to represent the temple, and I will continue to be on the board and assist in any way I can. For 2024, I will also chair the quarterly meetings for the Southern District Council. So I'm thankful that Kurt will take over. Gratitude to all of you and to the Board of Directors. No words can thank you enough. So of course I have to thank you with candy. As I usually do. So it's as I heart you, and I'll give you at the end of the installation a little box of hearts candies. So anyway, thank you so much. I want to introduce Kurt now. He has been attending the temple since he was in elementary school, and I just realized now that he's had second grade friends that have come to the temple. I knew they were friends, but I didn't know how long. And Robert Yamamoto and Mike Ong, so they've known each other from second grade. His parents, which I'm so happy to see here today, thank you for having Kurt, Paul and Mildred Yasuhara, and he has a brother Kyle and sister Tricia, which I hope to see, and his 3 children. I hope they'll come more often too. So anyway, just an all-around nice guy. Kurt, I'm going to introduce you to get the installation going. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming. First, Luann, thank you for that introduction, but thank you also for helping me so much. It's going to make it a much better transition with Luann's help, and she's already helping me now, so thank you. I'd like to start by calling the names, and if you could come up to the upper platform, that'd be great. Our advisor is Reverend Gibbs, and he's not here today. Assistant advisors are Reverend Laverne Imori and Reverend Mary Beth Smitty. President is me. First Vice President is Michael Kinoshita, and he's not here today. Second Vice President, Glenn Torrio. Third Vice President, Bill Teague, but I believe he's at MCRD this morning. Treasurer, Aki Tomoyama, and I believe she couldn't make it today. Recording Secretary, Nancy Martinez. Alan Yamanishi, Strategic Planning Committee. Arturo Rubio is the Donna Group. Brian Sasaki, Strategic Planning Committee. Glenn Nagoro, Assistant Treasurer. Greg Yonikura, Community Outreach and Solicitation. Karen Okuhara, Corresponding Secretary. Katie Sumida, Interreligious Council. Ken Murioka, Scouting, Building Improvement Committee. Kimberly Cruz, Payments Accounts. Lori Yoshida, Event Planner. Luann Lee, our 100-year committee chair and ex officio. Mike Ong, Strategic Planning Committee. Peter Matsuda, Strategic Planning Committee. Ralph Honda, Operations. Sharon Sasaki, Director at Large. And then we have 4 affiliate organizations. There are also voting members of the board, and they're also asked to attend the board meetings. Sue Moribe and Junko Kajita are the BWA co-presidents. Roy Okuhara is the Dharma School. Sharon Kang is the Junior YBA, and Ann Ong is Taiko. This is the Standing Buddhist Temples Board, and they do a tremendous amount of work on their own time. They're all volunteer positions, and they keep the temple running year after year. And I'm very thankful for all their work and their volunteer hours. It makes my job easy. And I think I have the easiest job because these people work so hard.
Thank you, Kurt. And I would disagree. I don't think that you have the easiest job. I've been temple president at a different temple. And I just, on behalf of the ministerial staff, want to, first of all, congratulate you and to thank you from the very bottoms of our hearts, because even though it may not be as transparent to many of us, there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes to keep this temple going. So thank you all for your volunteerism and your hard work. And I'm gonna do the installation oath. You've been chosen by the Sangha to serve on the board of the Buddhist Temple of San Diego for the coming years. To serve in a leadership capacity is both an honor and a responsibility. It requires your patience, your effort, and dedication to serving others. It's not an easy task, as there will be many challenges, as some of you already know, and perhaps even some criticism for what you do. But I would like to encourage you to maintain a positive attitude and always keep the primary goals and objectives of the Sangha in mind. Remember that the focus of the temple is to nurture our lives within the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. As long as you keep the 3 treasures close to your heart and mind, you'll never stray from the right path in leading others. May you joyously and with gratitude serve your fellow Buddhists during the course of this year. If you will take these responsibilities upon your shoulders, please repeat the following after me. I will do my best to serve on the board of directors of the Buddhist Temple of San Diego. I will strive to be considerate to all and to be a leader by example more than by words. I will do my utmost to listen to the teachings and reflect upon myself. I will serve the Sangha with joy and gratitude. I put my faith in Buddha. I go to the Dharma for guidance. And I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda. If you'll turn around, and if the Sangha will give some applause of gratitude to these folks that have now recommitted to the next year. And I thought, Luann, those were tears of joy, right? But she has put a lot of energy, a lot of her heart into the last 8 years. And so I also think that they were tears of gratitude and a little bit of tears of sadness, right? Okay.
Okay, so before Luann give us our candy, and then to tell you that every year she would, while she was board president, she would give us candy, but she would give us suckers, and maybe that was it was a joke, but because all of us serve willingly, all of us are dedicated to the temple. But it's Luann who's been the backbone for us for the past 8 years and before. So on behalf of the board, we'd like to present her a little gift. And though this isn't an Apple bag, it is not an Apple product. We recycle a lot here, so this is one of the Buddha's lessons that we have learned. So this is a gift from the board with all our heart. Yeah.
It's an Apple product.
And we had the help of our administrative assistant, Linda Redenbaugh, who's a wonderful artist, who helped with the design of this.
Oh, cool. It's a box, right?
It's a music box that plays It's a Wonderful World, which is a song that is much to our heart. Okay.
Wow. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Luann.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I would like to start by thanking everyone for coming to the Nirvana Day service today. And on behalf of the Buddhist Temple, I would like to thank Laverne Imori for officiating today. We look forward to her Dharma message. Oh, sorry. That's already passed. Oh, no, she's coming up with the Dharma message next. Sorry. Thank you for Sharon Sasaki to her Dharma school message. That was meaningful, and we enjoyed it. And thank you to Yukari Williams for providing the flower arrangements and the preparation of the onaijin. Thank you to Ralph Honda for chairing the service today, and Ong for providing the music. And thanks to our technical team for taking care of the live stream and all this, all that participated in this special service today. We want to give our deepest gratitude to the Sangha for all your generous donations and support. Thank you very much.
I'd like to add one more note of gratitude to Andrea Covarrubias, who also helped set up the onaijin this morning as part of her Girl Scout Padma award.
Well, congratulations to the Board of Directors for 2024, and to thank you to Luann for her many years of dedicated service to the temple. It was greatly appreciated. Let's see, at this time, we have some visitors. I know some new faces in our visiting to us. So if you don't mind, can you please stand and introduce yourselves to our Sangha, please? Welcome. And then how about the four back here? Thank you for visiting us today. And I see Steve back there. Thanks for joining us today, Steve. Let's see. Also, today is the month that we celebrate those who have birthdays in the month of February. So if your birthday is this month, please come forward and burn incense, and then you can come get your birthday gift. I know there's some. Don't be shy. See our just stand right here. Watch out. Okay.
No, you're good. Stay right here.
Okay.
Stay right here. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so we'll start with Ruth. Can you tell us how old you are? Going to be? I'm sorry, birth date. Your birth date. Okay. Excuse me, sorry.
My birthday?
Yeah, your birth date.
February 26, 1923.
I was going to say that she was going to be 39 this year.
Hi, I'm Avis. It was February 15.
And then yours truly was February 5th. So we will sing Happy Birthday, Dharma Friends, okay? And will lead us. Okay. Birthday. While they're choosing their gifts, are there any announcements at this time?
Hi, quick announcement. Okay, so we have our Makizushi fundraiser. It's going to be on March 17th, which after the Ohigan service. So it's $10 a roll, so please order. And then this one is our English tea, our first, maybe annual English tea. We're not sure yet. But anyway, May 4th, it is a fundraiser for the Lahaina mission, Honganji mission. So please join us for that. Everyone is welcome, and it's $35, 11:30 to 2 on May 4th. So I have some sign-up sheets in the back. Please join us. Thank you. One more. We're trying to train some new sushi rollers. So we're having a sushi workshop, and it's going to be on March 1st and 2nd. It's a Friday and Saturday. For non-members, it's $20, but if you're a member of the temple or of the BWA, it's free. So please sign up, and we hope to see you there. Thanks.
Thank you, Sue. One announcement they have next Sunday, next weekend is our Buddhist Churches of America's National Council meetings. It's their once-a-year meetings where all representatives, the representatives from all the temples, churches and temples meet, and they'll be meeting in Sacramento next weekend. Luann and Bill will be representing our temple at the meetings. And next Sunday will be the BCA's National Eitaikyo service. So with that, next Sunday's service will be dedicated to participating in the Eitaikyo service. So next Sunday when you come to the temple, there won't be any of the regular rituals that we have each Sunday. We will be participating by viewing the proceedings for the Eitaikyo service, and it'll be up on our big screen here. And it'll be about a 1-hour service, which will include chanting and a Dharma message from Reverend Miyamura from Chicago, the Midwest Temple, who is retiring. And then, so that'll be next Sunday, so for the service. Okay. At this time, the Dharma school classes are excused to go to their classes, so you're welcome to come up for Oshoko. Okay, thank you. We will now continue with the second half of the service, and it will begin with chanting of the Vandana Tisarana, and that can be found on page 96 of the service book. And Laverne Sensei will lead us in that.
Please join me from the very beginning where it starts Namo Tassa. bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kie Butsu. Namo Kie Ho. Namo Kie So. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu.
Thank you. And now Reverend Laverne will give her Nirvana Day message to the Sangha.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming today. And I know we have a few people that are here that may not be familiar with our service. So just a little bit of background here. We are a Jodo Shinshu Buddhist temple. Our main temple is in Kyoto, Japan. This temple, Buddhist Temple of San Diego, is part of an organization known as the Buddhist Churches of America. And it is comprised of about 60 temples across the U.S. It doesn't include Hawaii. Hawaii is its own district. And I was not raised in the Jodo Shinshu tradition, so I remember going to my first service. I started out in Seattle, about 20 years ago maybe. And I remember being very uncomfortable because at first I grew up in Japan. My dad worked for the Corps of Engineers there, so I went to DoD, Department of Defense schools all my life. But I don't ever remember, Buddhist Sunday school, for example, or Sunday services. My grandmother was Buddhist, but her altar was in her home. And then she maybe went to the temple on very special occasions. And so when I went to Seattle to go to college, I remember being very surprised when a family I met that was Jodo Shinshu and belonged to the Seattle Betsuing, they said, why don't you come to Dharma school, Sunday school? I thought, what? That sounded very strange to me. And then I went to a service, and I remember at my first service, I grew up Judeo-Christian. I grew up in a Protestant environment. And when I first went to the service, I thought, whoa, this is like going to church. The hymns, some of the recitations, those kinds of things seemed very familiar. And it was interesting. It made me very uncomfortable because I thought, well, is Buddhism, Japanese Buddhism or American Buddhism, just a reflection of the Judeo-Christian tradition? And as I went to my first service in Seattle, and what drew me in was the Dharma message. And I think that what is essential to our tradition is to hear the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, to hear the teachings of our founder, Shinran Shonin, and his predecessor teachers. It is about listening. It's about hearing the Dharma as it originated from Shakyamuni Buddha 2,500 years ago. And so for those of you, this might be your first visit, I would say, I don't know where your comfort level is, but bear with us, because what is the most important is the teachings. It's the messages. So please join me with palms together in Gassho as I read these words from Shakyamuni Buddha. And it's said to be among his final teachings to us before he died. From this day on, rely on the Dharma, not on the people who teach it. Rely on the meaning, not on the words. Rely on wisdom, not on the workings of the mind. Rely on the sutras that fully express the meaning, not on those that do not. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. And that is from the collected works of Shinran Shonin. So on our Jodo Shinshu calendar, we observe Nirvana Day, or Nehan, on February 15th. But due to the practicalities of today's modern world, and because Monday through Friday is considered to be the traditional work week, we hold the service, the Nirvana Day service, on the closest Sunday to February 15th. The historical Shakyamuni Buddha, also known to us as Gautama Buddha, was born a human being and died as a human being. And we sometimes think that Shakyamuni was some god-like figure with supernatural powers, superhero. And I would even say that some of the sutras that we read or that we learn seem to promote this misconception. And yet, in reality, in truth, Shakyamuni Buddha was born as a human being and died as a human being. So how was it that Shakyamuni was different from the rest of us? Shakyamuni was different in that he was a human being. He was a teacher who woke up. He was awakened to the universal truths of life. And what he did then in the next 45 years of his life was to share those teachings to benefit us, to benefit sentient beings without discrimination, without limit. And we observe Nirvana Day to remember that this great spiritual teacher was a human being who achieved enlightenment and went on to share those teachings with us so that we also could become awakened to the universal truths in the form of what we refer to, for example, as the Four Noble Truths, the Six Paramitas, the Eightfold Noble Path, so that we can aspire to, that we can hope for a life without suffering, which as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, we realize there's a lot of obstacles in the way, so that likelihood may be very difficult to achieve. Shakyamuni Buddha was, however, that spiritual teacher who left teachings. These teachings are our guideposts to living awakened lives. It's a reminder that each one of us in this room today can aspire to become awakened. It's generally accepted that Shakyamuni died at the age of 80, having traveled around and spread his teachings for about 45 years. And it's said that his final message on his deathbed was what I shared at the beginning of the talk, and I'm going to read this over again. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it takes me 5 times, maybe 10 times, maybe even more than that, for a message to really sink in, for me to absorb the true meaning behind some of these words. So I'm going to read it again. From this day on, only rely on the Dharma, not on the people who teach it. So again, rely on the Dharma, not on the people who espouse to teach it. Rely on the meaning, not on the words. Rely on wisdom, not on the working of the mind. Rely on the sutras that fully express the meaning, not on those that do not. Now, this has been translated in many ways, and the way that I think maybe might clarify it, it did for me. The translation was, make the Dharma your light. Rely on it. Don't depend on anything else or anybody else. And as I thought about this, and as I was preparing today's Dharma talk, I came upon a Nirvana Day message that was shared by Reverend Kenjun Kawawata, who is the bishop of the Hawaii district, Higashi Honganji. And he delivered this message a couple of years ago. And in his message, he explained that Shakyamuni Buddha, who was talking to Ananda, one of his disciples, who also happened to be his cousin, was telling us that we need two lights to help illuminate our lives, to help guide the way for us. The first light is to see the world of reality, truth, and the Dharma meaning the universal truths, that there is suffering in this world, there is suffering in our lives. That's the first noble truth. The second noble truth is there are underlying causes for that suffering. The third noble truth is there are ways to overcome that suffering. And the fourth noble truth is what Shakyamuni presented to us as that path, the path on how to overcome or minimize the suffering that we have in our lives. Maybe not to eliminate it, I think, but to minimize it as much as possible, to mitigate that suffering. One of Shakyamuni's most important teachings is that of impermanence, and we're reminded of that today as we acknowledge his death. However, we're also reminded that as we deeply ponder the words of his final message, that he was indeed a very extraordinary human being. He was a human being who achieved nirvana, enlightenment. He was a human being who in that form, in that physical form, was awakened to the universal meaning indisputable truths of life. And then, as a human being, he experienced parinirvana, or nirvana after death. Here was a human being who lived 80 years. And during those 80 years, he lived and left the teachings to benefit us, 2,500 years later, to benefit us as we sit here. And he left us words that remind us to aspire to become what I call bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas to reach the Pure Land and then become like Shakyamuni Buddha, who guided us with his teachings to be awakened. And so I have bodhisattvas in my life. I have often said that my mother was one of my greatest bodhisattvas because she awakened me to the universal truths of life, especially in her last few years. As I watched her elegantly, gracefully, with a lot of dignity, manage the end of her life. So please join me in Gassho as I close again with the words from Shinran Shonin. Actually, I haven't read these words, but these are words that are very special that were written and shared with us by Shinran Shonin. They're from Shinran Shonin's Jodo Wasan, and it's verse 20. Please join me in Gassho. Those who reach the Pure Land of happiness return to this world of samsara, of the 5 defilements, where, like the Buddha Shakyamuni, benefit sentient beings without limit. Benefit sentient beings without limit, without discrimination. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. And I would like to also invite everybody to join us for hospitality, where we can, as a Sangha, benefit from the presence of each other, to share our stories with each other, and to live the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laverne Sensei, for your message on Nirvana Day, and how, as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, we all live the path of our teachers, of Shakyamuni Buddha and Shinran. Okay, will everyone please rise for the Gatha Ondok-san, and that's on page 128 of the service book, and remain standing for a closing meditation. Closing music meditation. Be calm, heart of mine, and remember, Namo Amida Butsu. Gasho, Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Thank you. You may be seated. Well, this concludes our Nirvana Day service for 2024. I'd like to thank all of you for attending, and thank everyone who was participated in putting on today's service. Please join us for hospitality downstairs in the dining room, and you're welcome to burn incense as you leave today, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for attending.